Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among many other things. Now we're taking a look here today at WIN, which is Wink, and it's really awesome coin that I've covered before in the past. Actually, when I first started this channel back in April, I reviewed this one of my first coins actually, and it's back. It's back on track. It's a good coin. Really good community members too as well built on that. So thank you to my patrons and all of my community members for recommending that I cover this here. Now we're taking a look, of course, at WIN, and we're just looking at the technical analysis. There's no fundamentals here. Obviously, WIN has a lot of fundamentals you want to understand and realize. So always do your own research and just know I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only, but I've been trading for 10 plus years now, and I can tell you in my experience that I love being a smart, considerate trader, and I like to make sure to educate others on best practice. Unfortunately, in crypto, we see and hear a lot of nonsense, a lot of hype, and hype should not be part of a technical analysis. It's just strictly, we're just going to look at the facts here today, okay? So just know that I want you to be more of a self-sufficient trader so you can trade on your own for a lifetime instead of relying on me to trade. Now, if you do want to share or follow my trades, I do provide all those to my community members. Link in the description below for my Patreon account if you'd like to show your support there. But everything you're going to learn here today, I utilize day in and day out on my signals that I send to my members. All right. Now, also know I have a signal group too. Check that out, of course, but I more so want to recommend that you check out the Telegram community as well. That is obviously no cost. That's a good group of folks there where you can just kind of learn and grow. We're all in this together, right? We're not alone, and you need to know that. So jump on in there and take a look if you'd like. But without further ado, enough rambling from me. I tend to do that from time to time. I apologize in advance. We'll just go ahead and check out the charts. Let's get to it. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look at WIN. And just before we do, we always look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first to get a baseline of the market so we know exactly what's going on, right? Because any good trader will look at all the angles and make sure we understand big picture before jumping in, to just one time frame. We're going to look at, one-day chart all the way down. All right, so we're going to go ahead and be thorough here today, as we should always do with our trading. Never jump in arbitrarily and never trade when you're feeling upset or sad. It never heightens the experience. Never. Trust me on this. All right, so let's go ahead and get to Bitcoin. Before we do here, though, of course, I like to preface in the fact that I use TradingView.com desktop application. I mean, either one, honestly, there's a desktop application or the .com. Both fantastic. I recommend the paid versions just because it gives you much more indicators than just two present at all times. So I'll jump around through a few different indicators per time frame. I feel like there's always two per time frame that work the best. But if you utilize the paid version, check out the link in the description below. I do offer or have an affiliation there with them where I can basically provide you with a free month if you'd like to check that out, see if you like it first. So check that out, of course, in your own time. But again, for Bitcoin on the 4-hour chart, what we're looking at is the simple moving averages. That's what I have enabled here. So I have the 200 and the 50. I prefer SMA on the 4-hour chart or higher just because it makes more sense. It's a simple moving average. It's not responding as quick to the price action, whereas the EMA lines are better on shorter time frames. Again, just my opinion, works better for me. But with that being said, we've got the 200, which is the purple line here, obviously trailing way behind Bitcoin, and the 50, also trailing behind, but they're both trying to catch up to the price action. As we can see, the price is just on a significant bull run right now, so we won't worry about the 50-day simple moving average for some time. Hopefully not for quite a while, honestly, because at this point it's kind of open season when you look at the big picture here. Just to preface, though, we have 42,500 as a major support level, 45,000 as another major support level that was tested 3 times here recently. We had this bullish flag continuation that just broke out here as well. I was able to send that to my signal group, and honestly, everything's looking very good at this point here for Bitcoin. Big picture, if we were to kind of zoom out and look here, the next major resistance is about 51,000, right? So we've got kind of open season here for Bitcoin right now. There's no major support or resistance levels in this channel that we can really identify unless you're kind of reaching for straws, right? I mean, you could say that 46,000 is a major one, but we're kind of above that now as well. We've tested that twice. So honestly, I think we're in pretty good shape here for Bitcoin to continue on to 50,000 or 51, etc. Okay, so which means a lot of good altcoins are going to start taking off here soon. So you might want to get ready and get prepared because things are going crazy in a good way. Bear in mind too, Bitcoin could very well retrace. It is a little bit on the overextended side right now, but it's got some pretty strong support at 46,000. So just bear that in mind. Moving on to Ethereum, very similar situation here. We just passed 2,900. We had a previous, support and resistance level at about 2,400, and obviously 1,725 was the major support previously. But ever since Bitcoin jumped over 30,000, we've seen a continuation from Ethereum, which looks very similar and very reminiscent of this run here. I mean, look at that. It's not as vertical, but it is definitely increasing and ascending correctly. Okay, so just bear in mind here, if you kind of look, you'll see we have a major resistance at about 3,500, maybe 3,600. I drew this loosely here earlier when I was doing a review, but I can tell you that we've got some major support and resistance levels there. Maybe just say round number 3,600 just to be safe. But we're halfway to that point right now, so Ethereum should continue on to about 3,600 with no trouble, pending Bitcoin doesn't tank to 40,000, right? We should be in pretty good shape. All right, so we're looking pretty good there for Ethereum as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at the product at hand here. So Win has done some pretty good things, and it's capable of doing really good things as well. It's taken off big time in the past. I remember covering this back in April. Yeah, look at that, April 3rd, April 4th. I mean, what was going on back then? Almost 300% in a 2-3 day trading period. That's quite a lot. Here today, what do we got? What do we got so far? We're up about, at its highest point, close to 70%. That's pretty good. Well, the bottom line here is that even though this one-day chart hasn't closed yet, we're still kind of early in the trading day. We got maybe about 8 hours left. I would say that it's pretty safe to say that it will probably close above the 200. So that's great news. It basically means that the 200 is currently a support level. At least it should be implied as a support level. And I'm just going to abbreviate here. Instead of just saying 0.000, I'm just going to say the number. So 5.7. So at 5.7, that is essentially where the support level could be moving forward. Now, I think it's pretty likely that Win shouldn't sell off that much in this amount of time, so we should be in pretty good shape. Looking at the RSI, obviously up over 70, it's almost at 90, so it makes sense as to why the price is retracing. Most retracements occur about 50%, right? So if you're new to crypto, just in general, over the years that I've traded crypto, it seems to be a common theme that anytime the price hikes up like this in a short amount of time, it will likely come down about 50% of its original starting point. Okay, so we could just kind of loosely mark somewhere in this range here. What would that be? Is it 0.64? Or sorry, I'll just say 6.4. That is essentially what we're looking at there for a likelihood of a retracement. Okay, again, just based on just generally marking it without any other support and resistance levels. Again, we want to look at other support and resistance levels too and see kind of where we're at. And no coincidence here, look at that. Well, the price rejected right at a major support from before, which is now considered resistance. So what is that? That is 8.4. So right now we're in this channel between 6.4 and 8.4, right? So that's a major resistance there. We have a likely major support here about halfway down. Okay. Now the reason why I like to mark it halfway down is because if you do like a Fibonacci retracement, it'll do like 40 and 60% approximately. This splits the difference, kind of goes right in the middle, because you never want to plan your exits or your entry points based on Fibonacci specifically. You always want to be above or below, just based on the fact that that's what the industry leaders are using. They're using those tools all the time, and they're controlling the markets. So those shifts always occur above or below that point. So if you kind of just say you offset it by a small percent, then you'll be able to get your entry before they do, or you'll be able to sell your position before they reverse the price on you. Just something general to understand there, but that's kind of what we're looking at for Win on the 1 day. Let's go ahead and look at the 4-hour chart. Same thing here as well. I mean, we're looking at 90 on the RSI. So all in all, I mean, you can't enter or exit your trade based on RSI alone, but if you were to, RSI up over 70, it's a common, the common theme is to consider selling when it's above 70. Doesn't mean you want to do it, because as soon as it came up over 70 here, you look at this, that was back here where it's at like 4.9. You would have missed out on all this profit had you done that. So you never sell when the RSI just comes up over 70. Plan on and consider selling when it starts to come back down. So if you see right here, it's up at 90, it'll probably start coming back down the next, 4 to 8 hours. You'll probably see this kind of coming down. That's usually a better time frame to consider selling, or when it crosses over 70 again, because you'll still be in the green, but you get an extra few percent based on that sentiment alone. So we've got a major convergence here on, August 9th at 1 a.m. We'll just mark that really quick. And I like to mark that because there's a correlation if you haven't, if you're not familiar with Ishimoku Cloud on the 1 hour chart, there's a correlation between the 4-hour convergence on the MACD and the Ishimoku Cloud. Same thing could be said with the divergence as well, but most people prefer to long instead of short, so that is why it's beneficial. But let's take a look here. I'll show you what I mean. Obviously, looking at last 1 hour, we have this pretty strong retracement in the last hour. That makes sense. But looking back here, right? So this is, I marked this on the 4-hour chart. So this is when the MACD converged on the 4-hour chart. And it swung upwards here, of course, giving us a buy signal to go long. So if you're new to that, just general concept, when the MACD swings in an upward direction, the 12 intersects with the 26, that tells us we have a buy signal because the momentum is shifting from bearish to bullish, right? So the bears are conceding and the bulls are in complete control here moving forward. Right, that's generally the concept. It works better on larger time frames, which is why the MACD is beneficial in the 4-hour chart, in my personal opinion, the best. But moving on here, taking a look at the Ishimoku Cloud. Now, coincidentally, the price has been above the cloud for some time, so Win's been on a good bull run here. Because the common theme here is that when the price is above the Ishimoku Cloud, it's considered a buy signal. So had you picked up on that Q a while ago, this would have been the best point to enter, right? But generally speaking, as you can see here, the price kind of traveled into the cloud and it broke above right there. So it is technically breaking through the cloud. It's just that it was above it beforehand, which is fine. Basically just means that Win's been on a pretty strong bull run for at least 2 or 3 days. Now, the strongest obviously occurred here in the last 24 hours, but that's generally what you want to look for. So ultimately, if you're going to be trying to scan the markets for anything, 4-hour chart is the best chart to utilize. Make sure to utilize the MACD. See when the MACD is going to be swinging in upward direction. And then concurrently, look at the 1-hour chart and see if you're above the cloud. If you're above the cloud, great. If not, maybe wait a little bit longer. But generally speaking, they typically coincide together to kind of give you like an ultimate signal. Now, also note too, it does work as a support level as well. So as you can see, it's working as a support here, here, and here. And if it comes back down, there's a chance it might bounce off the cloud as well. Okay, just something to note. Furthermore, let's go ahead and take a look at TD sequential. This is probably going to show us, yep, extreme, oh man, yeah, that's, wow, that is big. Okay, yeah, so what happens is when you utilize the TD sequential, what it's supposed to do is supposed to tell you when there's going to be a reversal, right? And there's too much exhaustion because 9 hours of bullish momentum will typically end in a retracement. Well, if you see here, this ninth hour, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 extra bars above that. In other words, it's continued on a lot further than it should have, because it should have retraced back down here at this resistance at 6.4. Instead, it went all the way up to the test, the previous resistance or support at 8.4. So that being said, just something to note here, when you see a 9 on TD sequential, it pretty much is telling us that there's going to be a reversal soon, and it's it's overexhausted and it's overextended, right? So I mean, you can kind of look at that and figure it out. I mean, RSI is up over 70. There's a lot of indications here that this is extremely overbought, but it decided to go into overtime here and overhaul and get an extra 50%, so to speak. So that ramped up good. But the bottom line here is that now that the 9 is resetting, you'll probably see a 1 start counting down. We could likely see another 9 hours of bearish momentum, which implies that the price will probably be driven down to 6.4 and eventually test that support level. Yeah, so just something to note. The likelihood of this continuing on today is pretty low. I think 8.4 is the highest we're going to see for a little while. I hope it continues on. It might very well do that. Some coins can do that with the very strong fundamentals. These are things we cannot see. So do your own research, of course. If there's like some kind of big release that Win just had recently, there's a strong chance that's what's caused this. Look to see if there's anything else on the horizon for Win, because this is like a gaming platform, and I know that there's a lot of little strange things that kind of set off the price action. And if there's something slated for this time tomorrow, maybe consider adding to your position and see how the price fluctuates there, right? Anyways, just some speculation there, but this is just a technical analysis. So all fundamentals aside, it's obviously going to stay on this channel for some time. That's my guess. Moving on to the 15-minute, we'll just quickly identify EMA and VWAP. And this is something I like to point out, and this is cool. Look at this here. You see these little yellow up arrows? That's basically my notification that I have built here. I share this with my patrons, my community members, because technically I do have a signal group where I share all of my trades. I utilize what I'm using here on all of my trades, and I provide that to my community, right? Now in that, what I do is I essentially always look at everything we just looked at here, but I kind of icing on the cake for me is to look at the 15-minute chart to see if we have confirmation. So if you're new to the channel, confirmation for me is 15 minutes of confirmation times 2. In other words, we want to see 2 solid green bars above EMA and VWAP in order to verify that we have confirmation moving in the direction we want to head. So first of all, would you rather, question for you, do you want to swim upstream or downstream? Like if you had a choice to try to swim upriver or downriver, what would you do? I think most people would probably choose or elect to go downstream unless you're like an Olympic swimmer and that's all really good. But what I'm getting at here is, why fight the current? Why fight against it? Why struggle, with the waves and things, kind of pushing you down, right? That's what happens when you just jump in willy-nilly. If you don't have confirmation, that's what it feels like. So what I'm getting at here is that I have a kind of a system in place, whereas I utilize the EMA and VWAP. Now EMA is the exponential moving average. I use the EMA 15. That's this red lines here that you can see. And then of course, I also use VWAP. Now before I explain the VWAP, the EMA tells us that the price is continuing on bullishly or bearishly, of course. So the price is above the red line here. It's considered bullish, right? As you can see, the price jumped off here and got rejected. So that basically tells us, great, we're still in control. The bulls are still in control. All right. And you can see it just continues on, keeps going up and up and up. Now, when you lose EMA, that's a different story. It means you might be more bearish, so you want to pay attention to that. But when the price is over EMA, check number 1, good to go. When the price is over VWAP, that's the volume weighted average price. The VWAP line, simply understood, is that it basically takes the volume of the last 24 hours and expresses it as a price. Volume is one of the most underrated metrics people use. Most people don't even use it at all. And it's unfortunate, but it really helps us understand where the price action should be. So in this example here, we can see the price is over VWAP, right? And it's considered a support. By the way, the VWAP line is basically just a support and resistance level, moving along with the price it resets every 24 hours, okay? Because it's built on traditional trading days, not cryptocurrency trading. And it has standard deviation lines. I won't get into that, but the bottom line is this line here basically tells us we're above support. So looking at this example, we have check mark number 1, price is above support. Check mark number 2, the price is over EMA, right? So the bulls are in control. Good, no longer swimming upstream. The very last reference is the fact that we have these 3 up arrows here basically telling us that we have a continuation. In other words, we've got 1 green bar, that's 15 minutes of confirmation, 2 green bars. Oh, sorry, a Sesame Street reference or a street reference, but what I'm getting at is the fact that when you have 30 minutes of confirmation, right, basically telling you that the bulls have controlled that 30-minute time frame. You could say even an hour to work too, but I think it's a little lofty because you want to still get in before it takes off, but you don't want to get in prematurely. So to me, 30 minutes seems to be the best time frame. So anyways, I have this indication. It tells me, okay, great, good time to buy. We're going to just jump in right there. So had we jumped in right there, right, we would have netted ourselves to right now a 50% profit, 49%. So if I took my position and sold it right now and got in right then, I would have taken a 50% profit. That's not that bad. That's actually very, very good. I think it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that. But what I'm getting at here is that, if you look at the big picture, you look at the 4-hour chart, great, I've got a convergence on the MACD. Maybe I'll consider taking entry. Let's look at the Ishimoku cloud. You look at the 1-hour chart, okay, great, we're over the cloud. Awesome, let's go ahead and get in. And then furthermore, you confirm that by understanding that you have complete confirmation above EMA and VWAP. It's a win-win on all fronts, okay? Now again, this is a little late if you look at this here. This is actually when the EMA, correction, the MACD signaled an entry point, right? So you could avoid all this extra little work if you just jump in when the MACD swings upwards, right? So again, something to consider, just something to note. But I love being able to identify this and explain this because it just makes sense when you look at it here. So, big picture, I guess, the reason why half the people are here is to understand what is my prediction. And why don't we just go ahead and take a look at the 1 day first, because I forgot to mention that we do want to look at the average true range of win before it went crazy, right? And when I say crazy, I mean, today or previously, but generally speaking, what was the price action for win before Bitcoin sold off? Okay, so we can understand that correlation. We can kind of see how it's going to move independent or concurrent with Bitcoin. So in other words, April 17th, right here, this is April 17th. That's the first major sell-off in Bitcoin. Okay, now April 25th, things ramped back up. Most altcoins actually did one of these. They kind of went crazy and then sold off on May 18th, which is when the China candle occurred. But if you look here, obviously May 18th, China candle did occur and it drove the price down for Win, but it wasn't dramatic, not as dramatic as most other coins. So that tells me that generally speaking, Win is fairly independent of Bitcoin. So yes, Bitcoin's doing well recently, and Win is coming back alive. But keep in mind that Win still is very independent of Bitcoin in a lot of senses, because big picture, yes, it had to have come down here. I mean, July 21st, that's when Bitcoin jumped over 30,000. People are scared, they're not willing to invest, right? But now that there's confidence in the market, they're investing back into Win. And Win does move independent of Bitcoin in the sense that its average true range before all this stuff happened was somewhere in the range of right where it's at now, 8.4, upwards of about 17, 18. Okay. So we've got this channel of just say 8 to 18, whereas it just tested 8.4 here today. So what I'm getting at here is the fact that how that ties into my prediction is the fact that yes, it got rejected there. It has to. Most prices that jump up that fast get rejected by previous lows, which is where it stops. But pending the fact that it bounces off of this support level of basically 6.4 and continues up, we will see Win continue on to probably in the range of anywhere between 10 to 20. I think that's very likely. Again, there's probably some fundamental things I can't see here. Those are also playing in. But generally speaking, there's less fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the market right now. People are willing to invest. And Win is one of those coins, just like BTT, where they just like to invest in these coins because they're so inexpensive and there's still some fundamental catalysts that are causing the price to increase. So generally speaking, I would recommend, if you have a position right now, you're going to hold it for a long time, just so you're going to hold it for a month or two, or however long, longer than just say a couple of days, then I would recommend definitely holding your position. If you're more, very short-term swing trader, you want to get in, get out same day, then I would recommend maybe consider taking your profit, see how the price bounces off of 6.4, and then maybe reinvest or add to your position at that point. All right, so that's just kind of my thoughts there. So feel free to let me know your comments below. More importantly, check out my Telegram community, really good group of folks there. And if you like what you see here and you want to be able to have this on a daily basis, I again send all of my trades to my community members. Link in the description below for that through my Patreon account, where we just go ahead and I share all of my trades, best practice, and make sure that we all make money together. I have about an 80% success rate. All right, so check that out in your own time, but thanks again for watching all the way through to the end. If you did, hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.